All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Patriots First and Goal. Week 1 of the 2024 NFL season is upon us, beginning tonight when the Chiefs take on the Ravens. Week 1 is underway. The Patriots taking on the Bengals in the first of 16 or 17 brutal games that they're going to have to go through. That's okay. We're not going to look too far ahead of the future. We're going to look deeper into the present, talk about football. It is here, Rich Hill. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll be. Honestly, we talked about this before and all throughout the offseason. I'm in such a better mental state for the Patriots heading into this year than I was last year, when last year was just so much disappointment because there was reasonable expectations with Bill Belichick where, I think I'd been saying it for 3 years in a row of just like, hey, if we have an average offense, we're a playoff team. And then we just watched them just bury themselves week after week, making mistake after mistake until they just were just nothing. At the end of the year, they were just a bad team. And so it was a bad year just because you had to deal with all of those expectations and disappointments. This year, we have none of that. I have no expectations of this team. I have no standards. I have no need for them to perform at a certain level. If they go 1-16 and get the first overall pick, hey, you know what? That's all right. It's a rebuilding year. And so, Alec, my mental health is going great.
Giving up on life is really a nice way to go, Rich. I appreciate your empathy. Now, it's funny, man. This really is the first year in a very, very long time where there are no real expectations around the Patriots. I would never trade the Tom Brady era for anything in the world. But every September, we were going into that with they're going to finish 12-4. I wonder how they're going to get there. And 2, they're going to get a first round bye. And the only real question was is the AFC Championship going to be at Foxboro or at Indy or Kansas City or Baltimore or whatever the 4 or 5 other teams in the hopper were. And there was this expectation where the Patriots basically had to win the Super Bowl to meet expectations for that season. Otherwise, it wasn't just a disappointment. It was a colossal, epic embarrassment of a season. So those were our two things for a long time as Patriots fans. You get a C for the year, you won Super Bowl, oh, wow, big deal. You're supposed to do that anyway, not a big accomplishment. Or your season's a failure and Brady's window is closing and Belichick's hubris is gone. And that's all gone. Again, I wouldn't trade for the world, but that's all gone now. Maybe you can count 2020 as a no expectations year, but that was just such an anomalous year. There's really no way that I can use 2020 as anything. But yeah, then 2021 was a lot of optimism. 2022 was kind of a learning curve, I guess. 2023 was getting back on the saddle. That didn't happen. And now we are just here and we're going to watch some football and have a good time. And something very zen about that. I will not be nervous. There will be no sweating through my recliner. It'll just be games for game's sake. And I am looking forward to that. It feels a little weird because it's been a very long time since we were in this boat. But yeah, it's good. It's a good way to be. It's a nice kind of relaxing way to approach the NFL season.
Yeah, no. And I will also say, though, we are saying this now. Give us one game where the Patriots let a 2-score lead slip away in the final 5 minutes, and we will erupt. Absolutely. That is buried deep down. We are putting on a brave face right now, but this is the new frontier of just being a cellar dweller of a team. And let's go on to first down here, talking about the state of the Patriots. They are a cellar dweller. They are a bad team with low, if not no expectations. I was looking at an article on The Ringer where they were talking about the 75 best assets in football. So that's trying to factor in how old are they, what are their contract values, et cetera. So it's not literally the 75 or 100 best players in the league. It's who has the 100 most valuable players on the league. And there were 0 people from the Patriots on that team. One of 2 teams, along with the Panthers, who got the first overall pick. But they were one of 2 teams to say they have nobody in the top 100. Again, that means that there's an average of 3 players on every other team that made this, at least 0 from the Patriots. That's just showing what this team is right now. Alec, can you give me one sign of hope for the team this year?
The team this year, I'll give you a couple. One, I don't know if they're the youngest team in the league, but they have to be top 5 youngest team in the league by leaps and bounds. I think their oldest player is Joe Cardona, the long snapper, and he's 31. So everyone is under 30. 2, everyone who's going to be in that youth infusion, everyone's going to be getting a lot of playing time. this season. This is not the kind of thing where the rookies are sitting behind the incumbent starters who are on that top 100 list. You got to contribute. If you're on that 53, you're probably going to see some time in some capacity because they don't have anybody else to throw out there. So a lot of meaningful reps they're going to get, and we'll have a very good sense at the end of this season who's going to be part of that future and who's really not. And honestly, I would have put Kyle Duggar on that top 100. He's like a legit good player. I don't really know why he got left off. So screw you guys for that one. And then 3, again, we have not immediately and the right decision, but waiting in the wings is Drake May, Rich Hill. And if you're not excited about Drake May, you're not excited about the possibilities that he can present, the opportunity he presents, maybe what Mac Jones was supposed to be. I know it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game as Brissett gets beaten up for the first couple of weeks, but Brissett will not be starting probably come early November, if I had to guess, at the latest. And so we get to watch a young quarterback develop, hopefully show us some stuff that'll make us very excited for the end of the season and beyond.
Yeah, so I mean, that's all I'm hoping for out of this year is for some sense of promise. And I mean, we look at this roster, maybe I would put Duggar in there. I don't know if there's too many other people that I would even be like, whoa, how could you have left them off? There's like not a lot of those really good players on the roster. And like the positions that they have really good players at, whether it's like Ramondre Stevenson or even Duggar, they're very devalued across the league. You could even throw in the linebackers in there. Juwan Bentley, I think, is one of the better linebackers in the league. There's just not really good blue chip players. And so what I am looking for this year, what would give me a lot of hope going into next year, is all of this talent that they have on offense, all of these skill players. And so I'm not talking about Hunter Henry, who I'm expecting to be like a solid floor player. I'm talking about the younger players, whether it's Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas, Boutte, or Baker. I want one or two of them to really stand out in this new offense. If one of them emerges as, hey, this is a potential 1,000-yard receiver, then I'll call it a win of a year, because that gives you a player that you can build around with Drake May. If they come out of this year and it feels very similar to what it's been in recent years, where you're like, oh, there's not a single person on this offense that threatens an opposing defense. If that's the case, then they've wasted a lot of draft capital.
Yeah, no, they have. And it also will go a long way this season, Rich, to kind of telling you what kind of team they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're a soccer fan at all, but the United States men's national team got eliminated in the first round of the Copa America this past summer. And Alexi Lalas, commentator for a lot of soccer games, said, this is the most talented U.S. roster we've had in a long time, but they're not a good soccer team. And there's a big difference between having a lot of talent and being a good team. The Patriots are not a talented team. But can they be a good team? Can Gerard Mayo lead them into a good team? And is there some kind of chemistry, some gel pockets somewhere along this roster that you can build around? And one thing you can always say about the Patriots is they were a team. They loved each other. They got behind each other. They were in for each other. They weren't just 53 guys trying to earn a paycheck. So can they have that team building camaraderie? You'll see a lot of that because, when you're winning, a lot of things get erased. But when you're losing a lot of games, are you still buying in? Are you still into the system? That's why I loved Matt Judon when he was here. He was still all in despite the bad record. So hopefully we can see some team building happening as well. So good team, good reps, and who's going to emerge as the next stars. It's all I can really ask for this season. As a whole, though, Rich Hill, we'll kind of finish off the first down with the AFC East. I'm guessing Patriots finished 4th in the AFC East, if I had to guess. It's a pretty strong division this year. The Bills, Dolphins, and Jets. Jets are kind of a question mark with Aaron Rodgers returning. But if you had to guess right now, while everyone is 0-0, how would you rank the AFC East shaking out come December or January?
I think I would have the Dolphins winning the division with the Bills coming in half game behind, kind of a thing, whether it's due to tiebreaker or, actually just being like one game behind, but they will be vying for the top of it. I think that Aaron Rodgers might try to will the Jets to a few anomalous wins this year, but I think that they are much closer to the Patriots than they are to the Bills and the Dolphins. And I think the Bills are in an interesting spot because they've had a lot of turnover. There's a lot of new faces over there within the offense. They're really entering the era where Josh Allen's quarterback contract is affecting the rest of their ability to team build. And so they don't have like a Stephon Diggs on the team anymore. So they obviously drafted Keon Coleman early on, and I really like Curtis Samuel. But when you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Mac Hollins as your other two options out there. Like, these aren't who we've seen the Bills dominate the league with. They have two really good tight ends, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, but we'll see how willing they are to commit to them, because Kincaid's not necessarily a real blocker. But it's one of those situations where I think that they've taken enough step backs on offense that I trust the Dolphins with their skill set. Hill and Waddle as the receiver duo, Barrios out of the slot. They're just, 5 different running backs that can run a 3.0 40-yard dash. I think that the Dolphins have enough talent overall to win the division. I don't know if they'll be in that same echelon as like the Chiefs, and I'm going to put the Ravens as the top 2 teams in the conference, but I think that the Dolphins will be able to make some noise in the postseason.
Speaking of Chiefs and Ravens, Rich, great segue into second and goal. Let's go around the league for week 1. Chiefs and Ravens kick off the NFL season tonight, Thursday night. It is a night game. It's the tradition, the best team in the league. The champion Chiefs always open up as home host to a pretty good matchup. Potential early AFC championship preview. We got some other really good games on the slate this week, Rich. Obviously, Patriots Bengals is not one of them, but that's okay. Chargers Raiders, I think, could be a good game. 49ers Jets on Monday night. It's a very intriguing matchup. You have the Rams and the Lions on Sunday night. A couple of good primetime games kicking the weekend off. What are you excited about this weekend besides Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have to start with the Ravens Chiefs. I'm fascinated by what the Ravens might be able to do, because we have to remember, they added Derrick Henry to this team. They have Derrick Henry in the backfield. This Ravens offense could just be a 4,000 yards on the ground kind of a team. And I'm interested to see how it works. I actually am very intrigued by how they've built this roster, because they have a very strong defense. They're going to be very, very good overall. Kyle Van Noy is over there now, old friend Chris Board, who's met a cup of coffee with the Patriots last year. They have good depth at every single level of that defense. And they also have talent on that offense. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is MVP caliber type of player on offense. Zay Flowers coming out of Boston College. Mark Andrews at tight end. They have pieces everywhere. I want to know how Derrick Henry fits in. And this, obviously very early on in the season will kind of set the tone. If there's a time to knock off the Chiefs, it's now. But what I want to see are how all of the different contenders within the conference, and, we'll put the Dolphins hosting the Jaguars as another one. Those are what I really want to see, because I think that at the end of the day, those are going to have the most exciting players in the entire league. So why not watch them early on in the year?
Yeah, the game I'm psyched for is a late afternoon game on Sunday. Browns-Cowboys should be a pretty good game. The Browns are one of those teams, I feel like they should be good, but maybe I'm having like PTSD from them being so bad for so long, and they always have something going on around that franchise. And the Cowboys should be in contention for the NFC Championship this year. It's a much weaker conference, I think, but the Cowboys should be around. They re-up CeeDee Lamb for a huge contract. Their defense is still really good. NFC East is strong, but beyond the Eagles and the Cowboys, it's not like the Giants or the Commanders are going to be contending there. So I'm psyched to see what the Cowboys can do. And if the Browns can beat the Cowboys, even though it's week 1, maybe I'll finally buy into the fact that they're a legitimate team to be contended with in a very tough AFC North.
But I would love it if Jameis Winston does like a Baker Mayfield kind of a thing and just becomes the future quarterback for the Browns, just like is able to pull it off, because this is a good team. Like, as the Browns have had a good team, it feels like, in theory and on paper, for a while now. Like, their offensive line has been a top 5 unit in the league for like the past decade. They have a lot of talent there. I would love for the Patriots to invest in their offensive line in the way that the Browns do. Like, they have Conklin, Bitonio, DeJuan Jones, I really like, Wyatt Teller. They drafted Jedrick Willis. Like, they have a lot of players up front that should, in theory, make life really easy for a quarterback if they weren't throwing to talent or they didn't have players out there. But they got Njoku at tight end. They acquired Jerry Jeudy. They have Amari Cooper. I liked David Bell. Elijah Moore is a very good slot receiver. And then, obviously their running backs, not like a lot to break out, but they have Pierre Strong there, former Patriot. So they have enough players out there that I would be interested in their storyline if they're able to pull it off. Because it's a situation where, if Bill Belichick ever was the head coach of the Browns, he'd take this team to the Super Bowl.
Well, he was at one point, Rich Hill, if you're a historian of football. Good, I like the reference. Yeah, again, like the Browns, maybe different conference, different division. But again, I think the Ravens and the Bengals in that division is going to be very tough out in the AFC North. So I just don't know if the Browns have enough to get with it. But again, it'll be fun to watch. It's a kind of a good, sneaky, solid Sunday afternoon matchup that we can all watch after the Patriots take on the Bengals. Before we get into the Bengals-Patriots game, Rich, I would love your upset special of the week. Of all the games on the slate, maybe not necessarily against the odds of the spread, just kind of straight up. If you're a Prize Picks fan here on our network, it's a great way to play some sports bets. If you have a Prize Picks kind of upset of the week you want to go with points more or less, anything like that?
Yeah, I think there's two games that I'm looking for the potential underdog to be able to pull it off. And they're both of the 4:00 games where the AFC West can get a little bit wacky. And so I'm looking at the Raiders on the road against the Chargers. The Chargers are, rightfully so, the heavy favorite on this, but it's one where I feel like this Raiders team really intrigues me. I think that they have a lot of that can-do sort of spirit. Got Gardner Minshew on that roster. I will always root for him. I just think he's a riot. But they have enough talent out there. Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the league. Brock Bowers coming out as a rookie. But you also have Harrison Bryant and Michael Mayer, like two very good tight ends there. They have talent across the board. They have a very good defense when you look at who they have lining up. Max Crosby, one of the best pass rushers in the entire league. We have old friend Adam Butler, but they also added Christian Wilkins coming over from the Dolphins. So they're very strong up front. I think you look towards that back end. Obviously, Jack Jones had his time with the Patriots, so we are quite familiar with him. But they have talent throughout. And it's one where you see the Chargers. If there's one team that I want the Patriots to just avoid ever becoming, it's the Chargers. That's one of those situations of just living in the middle forever. And, ever since they let go Marty Schottenheimer after that 14-2 season, that's kind of just been where they've lived. It's just in mediocrity, despite having Justin Herbert, one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the entire league from a talent perspective. But you look at this roster, and I think that Herbert just covers up so much of just what they're able to do. Because you look at them, I don't think that they have any really good wide receivers. I don't think that they have any really good tight ends. I think that their running backs are pretty middling. I think that their offensive line has talent. I like Zion Johnson at guard. They have a good tackle duo in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, but they don't have anyone to really take advantage of it. Their defense, fine. Derwin James, obviously great. Asante Samuel Jr., also great. But there's not a lot outside of Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack up front, in my perspective. They have some of the pedigree and the names like Bud Dupree, but I don't think he's ever been really a consistent player. And so it's a situation where if the Raiders came out and they made some noise because a little team of destiny and division rival wackiness, I have the Raiders beating the Chargers opening the year.
Love that. The Chargers are just good enough to be good, and that's where you don't want to be. I feel like they're a perpetual 10-7 team, where they were 9-7 back when that's the worst possible scenario. You're always drafting 18th, and there's just no way to ever get over the hump. I'm with you on that kind of pick there. I'm going to go a little bit more, maybe a more traditional upset pick. I'm taking the Cardinals over the Bills in this game. I think the Bills are going to get punched in the mouth pretty hard. They're not the team they were the past couple of seasons. They're markedly worse than they were in 2023 due to some departures. Josh Allen, obviously still a very good quarterback, but Kyler Murray's back. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. I can just see the Cardinals going on the road and taking the Bills out in Orchard Park in a real upset game. I can see that happening for sure.
No, I like that one. I mean, I think that the Cardinals roster is one of those as well, just like the Browns, where it's they have the pieces. I love James Conner coming to the backfield. He's always had one of those best stories, kind of a thing. But yeah, you add in Marvin Harrison. Dortch has been underrated as a receiver, not what he can produce. And then you add in some of the tight ends that they have. Trey McBride is one of the best receiving tight ends in the entire league. They've invested in that offensive line. Paris Johnson Jr. is one of the best young tackles in the league. It's a team that has the pieces up front on offense. The question for the Cardinals is, can their defense go punch for punch with the Bills? And they might be able to. I think that they have speed at that second level to try and contain Josh Allen, and it won't be as easy as some might think it will.
No, it won't. And again, like I said, week 1 is such a weird time. There's a lot of weird upsets. A lot of things happen. People are still shaking the rust off. Maybe you're looking back or looking towards week 2 already if you have a primetime game coming up. and it's a good time for upsets to happen. Speaking of upsets, can the Patriots upset the Bengals on the road this Sunday at 1 o'clock? Let's find out, Rich. We'll break this game down right after this.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 5 million active members. Look, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike all the other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. That's it. Now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Now, here's an example of a player projection lineup. You could be going Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards, or Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. On the other end, Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards, and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. You like those picks? So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
All right, Rich, we are back. Let's talk Patriots Bengals. Not a best start for the team to go up to one of the potential AFC contenders in Cincinnati. Let's go weakness against maybe weakness, if you will. Patriots offense against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. We got Brissett. We got Ramondre Stevenson. We got Hunter Henry. We got Pop Douglas. Jalen Polk, I'm guessing, will be out there. Taekwon Thornton, your boy, will be out there. Keyshawn Boutte maybe will be out there. Yes.
Alec,
what do you do? If you're Alex, are you this is going to like run the ball, play clock control, try and get a field goal, and then hopefully you can find out like a 25 play, 98-yard drive that ends in a touchdown and takes 13 and a half minutes off the clock in the first quarter, and then just try and keep doing that. Is that your strategy?
It's one of those. Well, you've ignored their offensive line, and that will just continue to be what we come back to on this. They can't run the ball if they don't have an offensive line. They can't control the clock if they don't have an offensive line. And Alec, who is their offensive line? Who is their offensive line? Sidy Sow didn't practice due to an injury. So is he even going to be available? Who knows? We don't know at this point in time. Pencil in David Andrews at center. And then you have Michael Onwenu, whether he's at right guard or right tackle. Who knows where that's going to end up? Chuck Okorafor is going to be the other tackle. Alec, I don't know who their offensive line is, and that's just wild. It's not even one where it's like I don't know how or like who's going to be able to perform in that. Like maybe Nick Leverett, he's off-season practice name for the Patriots. They gave him an off-season award, so I would imagine he takes one of those interior line roles if Sidy Sow's unable to go, or even if he is available to go. It's one where we don't know who is going to line up as the offensive line for the Patriots, so I can have zero expectations for them to pull anything off on offense, right? Like Jacoby Brissett is going to just be running for his life all day.
It's funny, after all the blathering we did all offseason, we're talking about the starting offensive line, and the one I have the most confidence in right now in terms of who's going to be out there, but Darian Lowe. I know he's going to be there at left tackle. Like, I know that for a fact. And David Andrews, of course, but that's pretty much it. I mean, again, it's like when you see who the starting lineup is or who's questionable on Thursdays or Fridays, just like who's in the room. Like, who are I couldn't name the offensive linemen in the room right now. Who are the bodies? It's very, very interesting. Obviously, there's a plan in place, and this line has to get better because, again, Cole Strange will come back. Sidy Sow, maybe he can go. It's very interesting to be in a scenario where you had all offseason and plenty of money, and you just couldn't find anybody you were confident enough in outside of your locker room. Now, maybe that's not an indictment of the locker room. Maybe it's an endorsement of the locker room. And these guys are going to be very, very solid. I really don't know. I'll tell you, this would be a really good time to get a guy like James Devlin back, just an extra blocker in the backfield that can just do something. Or like Gronk as a blocking tight end, or Algie Crumpler, one of the all-time great under blocking tight ends when he was a Patriot. We just don't have that this year. And again, I still think ball control offense is the way to go. Maybe use a lot of screens. That's why I'm going to go with what am I going to do? I don't know. I really don't know what they're going to do here. It's really interesting. I don't know if I'm supposed to break it down, but that's why I'm going with Antonio Gibson as my offensive X factor, because if you are running for your life, your check down back is your best friend. I think he's getting a lot of catches. I have him at like 9 catches for 75 yards and maybe a touchdown. That's something I think he can definitely do, because I don't see a deep route developing. I don't see a lot of mid routes developing. It's going to be kind of a dink and dunk offense and try and get the ball out where you can. So hopefully Antonio Gibson can bail Brissett out at some point this week.
I mean, that's an excellent pick. It's one where we go back to the biggest missteps of Bill Belichick's final years with the Patriots, and one where it was so negligent it had to have been intentional, was their neglect of that third down receiving back role with Mac Jones on the roster, where you had a terrible offensive line because you traded away your players and you did not give him a safety blanket. You gave him just a former wide receiver turn running back, after years of going from Kevin Falk, having light in the backfield, to have that really long stretch of players that were able to show their value to a young quarterback, to sustaining an offense, to say, we're not going to give you one, Mac Jones. Good luck. Biggest neglectful thing ever. Antonio Gibson is that person, whether it's for Brissett or it's going to be for Drake May. I love that pick. I think especially, as you said, as the offensive line is not going to be reliable for them, they're going to have to find someone to give the ball to. And that's where Demario Douglas is going to be my X factor for the Patriots, where I don't expect the Patriots offensive line to give them enough time for plays to develop. Like, Trey Hendrickson is a very good pass rusher for the Bengals. Like, I don't think that they have a lot of other household names across the Bengals defense, but Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, two of the better linebackers in the entire league. They have talent on that defensive front. And so I don't think that Jacoby Brissett's going to be able to like chuck it deep downfield to Boutte and Thornton or even Polk. But Douglas is one proven for the Patriots offense. They know that he can get at least 50 yards in a tough situation. But he also has the most potential, in my mind, to be someone that they can rely on, to be that spiritual heir of the Julian Edelman, where he can pull out the tough yards. He can move the chains. He can go 11 for $120. And that's what the Patriots have been missing, is a wide receiver that can say, I'm going to put this offense on my back for today. And Douglas has that potential, and they might have that need. If you just say, we're going to sacrifice all the other players to clear out and let Demario Douglas operate underneath, I could see Douglas going off for a big day.
That'd be nice. It'd be good to see a receiver have a big day because, I think in order for a receiver to have a big day, usually you think the quarterback is comfortable in the pocket, has time to throw. I really don't know how much time Brissett's going to have back there, or if they're engineering the offense. If you remember, I think it was back in 2015 or 16, the offensive line was 2015 when the Patriots offensive line was just injury riddled and they were just an absolute mess. And almost every play that Josh McDaniels called at the time was a quick out to Edelman or like a quick screen to whoever. Just because they knew they didn't have time to have long plays that developed over the course of a couple of seconds. So maybe they're doing a lot of Alex Van Pelt's calling a lot of plays in the huddle right now. That's going to be just a lot of real quick slants, some quick releases, wide receiver screens, tight end seam routes, and maybe they'll throw one big one in there. I don't know. But if you had to guess, Rich, you'd say they're probably going more pass heavy than run heavy. It sounds like them.
I mean, it's one where if I'm the Patriots, Stevenson's going to get his. Like, if he ends up with 100 yards on the day, I wouldn't be surprised whether it's 70 and 30, 80 and 20, and maybe a score. Like, Stevenson's good enough to get his own, but also the Patriots offensive line is not good enough for them to sustain anything on the ground. They're going to average 2.5, 3 yards a carry. And so if they're going to win this game, not just, finish the game with who's doing the best. If they're going to win this game, someone has to do something at the receiver position. Maybe it's a breakdown in coverage against this Bengals secondary that doesn't have a lot of household names in there. But all it will take is a couple of those big plays for the Patriots to maybe flip this on its head, flip the field a few times, have a good special teams play here or there. That's what they're going to have to do in order to win this one. This is not a game. They're an 8-point underdog. It's one where everyone's expecting the Bengals to win and to win big. And so if the Patriots can find a way to stick around, and that involves having long drives, having long 10-plus play drives, that will require Demario Douglas to be the engine of that offense.
And honestly, you're gonna need other guys to contribute on this because you can't just have Demario Douglas being the only guy. So let's do some prize pick style, more or less, for you, Rich. We're talking about the wide receivers. Demario Douglas, you see him having more or less than 7 catches on Sunday?
I don't know, man. What was the
more or less than
under
7
on this one?
More or less than 7 catches for Demario Douglas.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under. I know he's my X factor. I think that he has the potential to do it, but I'm also like, if I'm the Bengals, he's the only player I feel like I need to stop, right? If you're saying I can put pressure on this offensive line, if I can stop the run, all that's left for me to do is take away their easy slot receiver, and that's Demario Douglas. And so if I'm the Bengals, I'm keying up on the run, and I'm taking away Demario Douglas and saying, good luck, Jacoby Brissett, trying to win with Taekwon Thornton. That is not going to happen. And so it's one where if the Patriots win, it's because Douglas has found a way to escape it. Am I expecting him to do that? The answer is no. And so that's why I'm going on the under.
All right. What about another kind of outlet safety blanket type of player, the tight end, Hunter Henry, more or less than 4 grabs for Hunter Henry?
Less. Absolutely less. I think that Hunter Henry is a completely solid and fine tight end. I don't think that he is going to contribute in that way. I think that if there is a tight end to get 4 or more catches, it's going to be Austin Hooper. I think that he is the player to watch out for at that tight end role, just because they're going to keep in Hunter Henry to block. They don't have a good blocking tight end, so Henry's going to have that role. And if someone's going to pick up yards or get targets, it's going to be Austin Hooper and not Hunter Henry.
All right, last one. Your favorite player on the team, Taekwon Thornton, more or less 2 catches for Thornton on Sunday.
Everything we've seen with Taekwon Thornton during this offseason has been that he's the starter, that he's going to get time out there, that even if he's not going to get. And so is he going to get more than 2 catches? I could see it. My stamp on this is that it might be, 3 catches for 12 yards. Like, I don't think he's going to do anything with them. But someone has to get the targets. I'm expecting Brissett to throw at least 25 to 30 times. And not all of them can go to Demario Douglas. Some of them have to go to Thornton. And if he's going to be that X receiver, he's going to get some of them. If they go 0 for 4 to Thornton, I wouldn't be surprised either. But I think that he's going to get some gimmies, whether it's some slip screens or something like that. I don't know if he'll make anything of them, but I think they'll try to get the ball in his hands so his speed can take it away.
Yeah, that's the trick. Like, just get him and let him do something with it. Quick catch, quick slam. Maybe you can take off or break something like that. Maybe he has like 1 catch for 89 yards. That's kind of sad. He might put up. He just kind of breaks one out. But I think the general point we're all making here, Rich, is that if the Patriots are going to win this game, it's probably going to be on the back of their strength, which is their defense.
Nothing is better than football season. And football season is so much better at the game. Of course, I have season tickets to the Patriots, and I love going to Patriots games every year. The tailgate experience is incredible. And, just being there with family and friends is unbeatable. But this year, I'm actually making a trip all the way out to Notre Dame to see a college football game for the first time. And I'm so excited about that atmosphere as well. Now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats that you don't have to waste any time searching through thousands of tickets. Now, for this Notre Dame game, I did go on the Game Time app. I searched through the Game Time Picks. I found the tickets I want, and I bought them. But here's the thing that's even better about Game Time Picks, because they have all-in pricing at Game Time. And that makes it so much easier because I'm not looking at the ticket saying, oh, it's this price. And then I get to the checkout line and it's $80 more expensive. No. That's not happening. I can actually see how much I'm going to pay before I do anything else, before I actually pay for my tickets. And that makes buying tickets so much easier. Now, you can take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
So let's get to 4th and goal here, a little more optimistic. Patriots defense versus the Bengals offense. This is a pretty solid Bengals offense, Rich. Obviously, Joe Burrow is one of the top quarterbacks in the AFC. They have a pretty strong receiving core. I know Jamar Chase is not for practicing. He's kind of banged up, but I imagine he'll be good to go on Sunday. They have T. Higgins, which is a pretty solid 1-2 punch. Jermaine Burton is the rookie they brought in. They've got a pretty decent receiving core. Terry McLaughlin isn't a horrible tight end. They don't have like a ton of talent there, but I think as far as the offense goes, there's a lot of weapons. The Bengals can hit you multiple different ways. So if you are Gerard Mayo and you are looking to key up a defense, who's your main takeaway? Is it Jamar Chase? You hoping you putting Christian Gonzalez on Jamar Chase for like a one-on-one welcome back to the NFL? You know, a lot more man zone reads. What's your strategy for taking these guys on defensively?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a hard one. It's one where it starts with the offensive line, right? If we were talking about how the Patriots offensive line, this Bengals offensive line, they have done everything they can to set up Joe Burrow for success. They have Orlando Brown and Trent Brown as the bookends, Ted Karras in the middle. They have some good offensive guards out there as well. They have depth. And so it's a situation where I expect if I'm the Bengals, I look at the Patriots and say, what is your strength? It's your secondary. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez coming back from an injury, but you look at that secondary that they have at the safety role. We talked a little bit about Duggar. You also have Peppers out there. I really like the options that the Patriots have. I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Austin got a lot of the play across from Gonzalez just because of the size of these Bengals receivers. And it's one where I don't necessarily want to put Jonathan Jones out there, Marcus Jones against T. Higgins. Obviously, Higgins is bigger. And so I would say I would put Gonzalez on Chase. But if I'm the Bengals, I'd say, okay, try and stop the run. Deontay Foreman's like 1,000 pounds. He's going to move the ball. Patriots are missing Christian Barmore. They obviously have Godshaw and Farms taking up the middle. I think White could have a really good day for the Patriots. But if I'm the Bengals, I'm going to say, hey, Joe Burrow's dealing with a wrist injury. He's coming back. Jamar Chase, easing him in. We don't need to open up all of our playbook in order to try and compete here because the Patriots are a much inferior team from a talent perspective. I'm the Bengals. I do it pretty vanilla against New England. And so then therefore, if I'm the Patriots, I try and make it so they can't be vanilla. I try to make it where they can't just run the ball the entire time. I try to force them to throw it. And it's one because I think that the Patriots have their secondary that's super strong. I would try and do a 5-man front. Try and put some pressure on Joe Burrow, force him to kind of play a little bit off balance. And they know Trent Brown better than anyone. And so they also know Ted Karras better than anyone. And if there is a team that can find a way through this offensive line, it's the Patriots. And so I know I mentioned Keon White. He's my X factor. He's someone who stood out for the Patriots all offseason. He's someone that the coaching staff really liked going from last year into this year. I think he has all of the tools to be one of the most disruptive pass rushers in the entire league. And I think that this is the time that we start to see it. And I think that he's going to have a big day. It's not like a Demario Douglas thing where I'm saying, I know hypothetically, I think that Keon White is the X factor for the Patriots for disrupting the entire Bengals offense. And I think he has the ability to do it.
No, he does. I mean, he's, I think, one of the reasons they moved out from Matt Judon is what Keon Wright brought to the table, especially as rookie last season. And you can line him up in the middle. You can line up on both edges, create that mismatch that will hopefully will allow the Patriots to get to Joe Burrow more than we hope they otherwise would. I'm going to go a little deeper into the front seven and go with Josh Uche as my X factor. And he's kind of like your situational pass rusher. He really came on last season. He's another kind of mismatch. You play him where he's most effective. You don't have to line up in one spot. It's not simply like an end or a tackle. I think he can be like a linebacker, good lateral speed. If he can get a couple hits on Joe Burrow, that could be really good. I think it's going to be a really big linebacker game for the Patriots. I think the front line's very solid. I love the secondary. Is what do they do in the middle of the field? And that's where the linebackers are going to have to roam. I'm very curious if they play Jabril Peppers. It's kind of like the Adrian kind of Patrick Chung, Adrian Claiborne kind of hybrid linebacker safety role. They go a lot of rubber, cover one. I'm very curious to see that. Looking for a big day for the linebackers. And Josh Uche is a kind of linebacker and hybrid. I think you can ask for a lot of him. And I'm hoping he has a lot to prove this season and off to a good start with some pressures on Joe Burrow for Josh Uche.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one. I think that Uche has every reason to try and put up a 15 sack kind of a year. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that the Patriots will put him in a situation to succeed. I'm genuinely curious to know what the coaching staff thinks of him outside of Bill Belichick, right? Like that's one of those situations where he along with like Chase Winovich, there were always some players that we as observers would watch and be like, they're way better than what the Patriots coaching staff is giving them play. And it's because maybe they were inconsistent in practice. Maybe they just liked some other players more. But Uche falls and feels very much to me like one of those players where it's like, you have it. Why isn't it happening here? Like, why aren't you being utilized? I would also put like Jonnu Smith in that situation where I was like, you were just intentionally mismanaging and misutilizing this person. What's going on? And so I'm very curious to see how Gerard Mayo has what tricks he has up his sleeve for Uche, especially coming from that linebacker experience. I think that there could be some pretty fun defensive fronts that DeMarcus Covington will also draw up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Last question for our show before we get to predictions. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez is back. Missed most of last season with an injury. Are you sticking him on an island against Jamar Chase in his first game back?
No way.
Are you putting him on T. Higgins one-on-one? Are you giving him some safety help? How are you utilizing a secondary against a very strong receiving core?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a difficult situation because you have T. Higgins, who is much bigger than a lot of the other Patriots' top of the depth chart players. But also, it could very well be that situation. We say, okay, Christian Gonzalez against T. Higgins, and then you have someone like Alex Austin or even Jonathan Jones, but with safety help against Jamar Chase. That's something that like I could see happening. I might do it the other direction. I might say Christian Gonzalez, you go against Jamar Chase with some safety help, and then say T. Higgins, you try and beat us. Because I think Higgins is good. I think Higgins is a very good receiver. But if you can say Jamar Chase, you cannot break 80 yards, Patriots are in a much better spot. I mean, Chase is a premier receiver, and I would dedicate your best player to try and stop him, because if there's a player that can take over the game, it's going to be Chase. Higgins can produce. I don't think he can take over the game in the same way that Chase does, so it's worth trying to make sure that Chase can't do that.
I'd love to see it. I mean, again, last season, Gonzalez had a murderer's row of receivers in a very brief period of time, and he held his own and then some. He had CeeDee Lamb, he had A.J. Brown, he had Tyreek Hill, and he held his own. Can he do it against Jamar Chase? Different kind of caliber of kind of size and strength. Don't know. Maybe if this is like a week 5 game and he had 4 more games under his belt, we don't just try to throw him out there, but maybe just to test him and see how it's going. And if it doesn't work, they can make some adjustments. That's kind of all I got for the breakdown, Rich Hill. Anything you want to talk about? Should get the predictions here for Extra Point.
No, I'm ready to make our predictions.
All right. So again, I absolutely dominated preseason predictions. So I will be picking first in this week 1 of the regular season. Patriots are at Bengals. Everyone's 0-0. Rich Hill, this may possibly be the first and last time all season we are talking where the Patriots don't have a losing record. So I am factoring that into my prediction. This year, there's going to be very few times, if any, where I am coming to this prediction confident the Pats are going to win the game. There are going to be games where I think they can win and games I know they're not going to win. This game, I know I'm wearing my homer hat, but this game I think is winnable for the Patriots. The Bengals are a better team than the Patriots from top to bottom, but there's some factors working against the Bengals that I think could play into this game. Again, it's week 1. Burrow's kind of banged up. Jamar Chase is kind of banged up. They're heavy favorites at home. This is an easy game to overlook, and a lot of things go wonky in week 1. And I don't know if the Patriots have a chip on their shoulder based on all the hype they're not getting this offseason. But this is a really good chance for them to come out and just punch a really good team in the mouth and say, hey, we're not going to lose every game 30-0. Will it happen? Probably not, but there's going to be very few games where I actually feel confident picking the Patriots. And while I don't feel confident at all picking the Patriots, I'm still taking them to win this game off like a pick six and a missed field goal from Cincy at the end of the game. So New England takes this one to shock the world, 21-18.
Wow. Is Joey Sly doing any work in there to make it happen?
3 extra points. Again, a pick six, a Ramondre Stevenson run, and maybe like an interception, a turnover short drive that they score a touchdown on. And those are the 3 touchdowns.
That's some dirty football right there.
Yeah.
I would love to have that happen. But my question to you, coming out of New England on this, for how many years would it take for either the Lakers or the Yankees to be really bad for a team to overlook them in a matchup? How many years in a row would the Lakers have to be a bottom cellar dwelling team for you to have your team go in there and say, oh yeah, that's an easy win. I can overlook it. I feel like the Patriots have a target on it until they are either wiped off the face of the earth or, they have some sort of a scan. Like they're just going to be targeted. There's no team that will overlook the Patriots at this point. And so I have the Bengals winning this one. I think that they'll be ready. I don't think that the Patriots have players good enough to say, I have a chip on my shoulder and that will allow us to win. They don't have those players that can put the team on their back. And so I have the Bengals winning this one. I think the offense will be pretty gross for the Patriots, maybe a little bit better than last year just with the new offense. But I see the Bengals winning this one pretty comfortably, something along the lines of 27-10.
27-10. At least they get in the end zone once on that scenario, which is more than
5 safeties.
Yeah, 5 safeties. You never know. Well, we will soon. I like this because whenever you pick one, I pick the other. It makes it easy for the next week. I don't have to do any math. That makes it simple. You're probably going to win, but again, I don't think it's ridiculous for the Patriots to win this game. If this is like a Week 8 game, there's no way I'm picking the Patriots to win this game. But again, Week 1. Anything goes. There's a lot of upsets, and then overreaction Monday comes along, and your article comes like, "Oh man, maybe Gerard Mayo's a genius, and we overlook the Patriots." And I can already see it happening before it all comes crumbling down. I just like to go at least one more week without a losing record, because I feel like once they get into the red and they're like 1-3, they're not coming back. So we're going to start off 1-0 and finish 3-14, and that'll be fine.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be with you the entire way. Alec, good luck with your prediction here. Do you have any final thoughts on Week 1 of the NFL season?
Football gods, please be merciful.